Hello friends, welcome to this course Instrumentation. The first chapter of this subject is fundamentals of measurement. Uh, so we are directly starting with the first topic of the first module, that is aims of measurement. Okay, so what is mean by exactly the measurement, right? So we do in day-to-day life the various measurements, just like a measurement of some kind of the length or just our body mass, or else the body temperature, heartbeats, and many more there, right, etc., etc. So what is exactly scientific definition of the measurement is nothing but the process of associating numbers with the physical quantities and the phenomena, right? So we are just trying to give a particular number to the physical quantity which we are going to measure it. So this is something that we are just giving the some association, associating number to that physical quantity. That is nothing but the process of the measurement. The goal of the objective measurement. So obviously there will be some kind of the objective behind the any kind of the measurement, and what is the purpose of that measurement is to produce the reference standard. For what the reference standard will be using, or for what kind we will be utilizing it, that is to have the goal of the objective measurement is to produce a reference standard, common currency for the exchange of the quantitative value. Just like the for the case of the comparison, we can give is the some quantitative association to that particular physical quantity. So what happens in this case, so that the all research and the practice relevant to a particular variable can be conducted in uniform terms, so that the it should not be get varied with respect to the place and the environment, so that the whole, whole region, the reference will be standardized, right? So that will be in terms of the uniform terms, it will be utilized, right? So the development in the science and technology depends on the experimental observations and the quantitative measurements. When we are trying to do some kind of the measurements, obviously the successive measurements after the first experiment, right? So that will help us to develop the science, to develop the technology on that basis, right? So the whatever the technology which is developing nowadays depends upon the experiment which are performed maybe few days or few years back, so that they have come to this stage. Okay? And obviously today's measurement will help to develop the science and technology maybe on tomorrow. So what are the uses of this instrument, or the use of the instrument as and this how this help to build up the technology, that the this is not the only the measurement which we have performed few days back are helping to develop the science technology nowadays. No, it has also the this use of the instrumentation has started very long back, before the introduction of the electronics and even advances in the physics and the other disciplines of the science and the okay, so other disciplines as well, right? So now the use of the instrumentation relies on the availability of the reliable instrument for the continuous measurement and recording of many physical quantities, right? Right. So here we can understand that the use of the instrumentation only relies on the availability of the reliable instrument, right? So if suppose we want to measure the length of suppose 100 meter, but if we are having the 1 meter scale, still it is possible to measure that 100 meter distance, but it will be time consuming. Instead of that, if we are having the 500 50 meter meter tape, so that it will be very easy to measure. So depends upon, and that measurement depends upon the what kind of the available instruments are there to do us any kind of the measurements. Now obviously it has to be the appropriate one, okay? Because we cannot measure the distance between earth and the sun by using the meter scale. So it has to be the relevant to that particular uh, uh, physical quantity. Now let's talk about the another very important thing in the instrumentation is nothing but the functional elements. So when we are trying to use any instrument for the purpose of the measurement, obviously what kind of the functional elements are present in that particular system. We are not going in principle to understand that, or we are not going to understand the basic principle behind the how one particular instrument is uh, 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 just to how it is working or its working principle. So here we will try to understand that how the functional elements are there in the particular instrumentation system or the measurement system. So to understand a measuring instrument or the system, it is important to have the systematic organization and analysis of the measurement system. So systematic organization means a particular or the similar working materials can be kept in a certain box, and we can organize them to understand the whole working principle of the system. So it is very important to understand any measurement system by using its functional elements. The basic measurement system, how what it involves actually the precise measurement and the recording of physical, chemical, mechanical, and the optical properties in every branch of the science and technology. So what it involves is precise measurement, obviously to minimize the errors in the measurements. We will be seeing in the how they occurs and so on and so forth, and recording of the physical or the any kind of the parameters. Okay, it is not only related to the only four they are measure reported, but there are many more physical quantities are there in case in the branch of the science and technology. The operation of a measuring instrument or the system could be described in the generalized manner. So we are just trying to generalize the operation mechanism of that particular measuring instrument or the system, and can be described in a generalized manner in terms of the functional elements. So similar working material or components can be categorized into the one functional element, okay, or the one box. The basic functional element of a measuring system are shown in the just following figure. So we'll just try to understand that the how these functional elements are there in the measuring system. So typical measuring system, we are just trying to understand and how it is useful to get the information regarding the working principle of the that particular measuring system. So how it helps to understand the measuring instrument or the system, it is important to have the systematic organization and analysis of the measurement system. Okay, the operation of the measuring instrument or the system could be described in a generalized manner in terms of the functional elements. So there are various functional elements of the measurement systems are there, such as the primary sensing element, then variable conversion, or the we can say the manipulation element, the variable, then the signal conditioning will be there, then data presentation or the transmission, and then the presentation will come. So this is how the whole functional elements are present in the our measurement system. So let's talk about the first thing. We must decide that the which physical quantity which we are going to measure it. So input will be there. So physical quantity to be measured, that is examples are the temperature, humidity, length, current, voltage, so on and so forth. So it will be over here, and obviously that has to be sensed by a some sensor. So here the first thing which will be there is the transducer element, or the we can say is the primary and the secondary sensing element will be there. So quantity to be measured makes it first contact with the primary sensor. So whatever the input is there, it will be making the first contact with this primary sensing element or the transducer element. So, the measurement is thus the detected by the primary sensor, or it can also be called as the detector. uh, the transducer in the general is defined as it is defined as a device which converts the energy from one form to another or the same. Okay, so it just converts the one form of energy into the other one. Uh, in a measurement system, it is yes. So once we have the input signal is to be detected by the primary sensing element, and output of this primary sensing element or the secondary sensing element, it converts that changes into some electronic signal such as the current or the voltage, and obviously the this it just output of this transducer element will be any kind of the electrical. Most of the time it is a electrical signal. In many cases, we can understand physical quantity is directly converted into the electrical quantity by a transducer, and the first stage of the measurement system is known as the detector transducer stage. So this is the first stage of the for, functional elements. Then the second one is nothing but the we call is the signal conditioning one. So the output of the first element or the transducer element is given to the signal conditioning one. So this output of this transducer contains the information which is further processed by the system. So the whatever the output of this, it has to be further processed one. Uh, yeah, the many transducers develop usually a voltage or some other kind of the electrical signal, and quite often the signal developed is of the very low voltages, or else maybe its output of this transducer element can be some millivolt or the microvolt. Uh, so this signal could be contaminated by the some unwanted signal. We can say it is a noise will be there along with the whatever the our expected or the necessary signal along with it. So what it is required to have means to process such a kind of the signal, there is a problem, right? So that could also be by the uh, distorted by the processing equipment itself. So whatever the signal which will be there is contaminated one, or contaminated in the sense that it is a distorted signal or the noise, we will say in the electronics, and it will be not useful to get the expected result or the expected signal. So it has to be required to some conditioning is required. What is the solution behind to remove the distortions in the expected signal is to prevent or the remove the signal contamination or the distortions in it. So the operations performed on this on the signal to remove the signal contamination or the distortion is called as the actually signal conditioning. So also such as the something like, okay, we can call it as the terms such as the signal conditioning means you can addition, subtraction, integration, differentiation, and so on and so forth will be there. Then once we have performed various conditioning of that particular signal, output of that signal will be given to the data presentation. Okay, or it can be given through the transmit on the transmission element as well. Okay, the data transmission element will be there in between, but it can be avoided, and then we can have the data presentation. So the function of the data presentation element is to convey the information about the quantity under the measurement to the personnel personnel handling the instrument or the system for the monitoring, control, or the analysis purposes. The information conveyed must be in a convenient form. So in case the data is to be monitored, we can be displayed on the maybe displays for the direct yeah, use of the that data, as it can be presented directly on the display, or else it can be stored in the uh, research and analysis purposes in case of the some memory devices, computer, or else if suppose sometimes we are requiring the hard copies, then we can use data directly given to the printer and so on and so forth. So this is the data presentation element. Then there will be the external power element will be there to drive all these elements present in the measurement system. So this is external power element will be there, and in analogous with the calibration element will be there, so that to understand that whether the measured quantities are in allowed errors, okay, or measured quantities are up to the good accuracy, okay. So for this comparison, so calibration elements will be there. So how they are connected, we can see over here. The external power supply is required for the calibration element as well. It is required for the all the elements present in this measurement system. Also, this calibration element is firstly required at the transducer element to have the direct comparison between the measured one and the standard one. So it is directly required one. And how it is flowing? So input is given to the transducer. So flow chart of this functional element of this measurement system is input is given to the transducer element, then to the signal conditioning to the data presentation element. So this is how it is just flowing. So the transducer element, signal conditioning, and the data presentation element is the basic functional elements of the measurement systems. And then the other one is the calibration element, and the external power element are the auxiliary elements of the measurement system. Thank you.